Welcome back, guys. So, during our last lecture, we talked about migration, we spoke about models, and we created a model for users. So, I realized when we were configuring our config.js file, I forgot to add s here. This should be operators alias, is not operator, and this should be dialect with a C. Okay. So please go ahead and correct that in case you haven't done that. And I think another place I made a mistake will be this default value here. This should be UUID v4 version 4, and that should be corrected. Then also in your migration, change that to version 4, UUID v4. So thank you. So in this lecture, we will be talking about controllers. We will be creating our own user controllers. These controllers will help us make our CRUD operation, the create, the edit, the delete, and the update request. We'll be able to make all those requests to the database. So the first thing I would do is to go to my controllers folder and create a new file. First one will be the index.js, which will enable my export, and the next one will be the users controller users.js file. So inside the users.js file, I will import my module, which we created during our last class. The next thing I will do is destructure that module. Okay, for those of us that don't understand the word destructuring in JavaScript, I'm going to create a lecture on that in future classes. But for now, just understand destructuring as a way to get the value of your object by specifying the key in between the curly braces here. I will explain further what I mean by that. So the next thing I will do is export my default. Just for easy access to these controllers I'm about to create. Then using the async function, we create a function called create user, which takes a request, create user, which takes a request and a response. Then inside that, we set a variable by destructuring the value in our request to be our username and our email. It shall be destructured from request.body object. So why I am destructuring this is because I want to change how my username is being submitted into the database. So this is what I'm going to do. In case a user adds an extra space once they've entered their name, I would like to trim it. So I'll call the trim method to trim it. Same thing goes with my email. So once that is done, the next thing I will do is configure my request body, create my request body, and that's by creating a variable on object that takes the request I'm sending. Okay, I'm using this three dotted sign. This three dotted sign is the spread operator, so I'm spreading the request body here. Then I'm replacing the username inside the request body with the new one I have. Same goes with my email. Okay, so once that is done, the next thing I would like to do is create my user, of course. So I'll set a variable called user, which takes awaits function of user dot create. The create object is made available to us, and we are calling these users not user from the model. So we're creating it on that particular user model, and we are passing in our request body. Okay, once that is done, I would like to create my response now, or configure my response appropriately. So what I will do is call this response object, then inside the response, well, before I do that, let me change how my the user here is being returned. So let me set this to normalize. Let me call this normalize user. Then it takes the ID to be user.id, because it takes the username. It will be user.username, email, user.email. Then it created that. Created that. They updated that. Then is admin. If you remember, those are the columns we created in our database through our migration and the help of our models, which is the user model, is admin. So once that is done, now what I want to do, I want to return that by spreading the object. Of course, I'm spreading it. I'm just setting it to this object response just to make everything clean. So the next thing I will do is to return my object response. Okay, it takes a status to 1. The tool status is for creation of an item on the database. Okay, so then we send this response. Then the response, we have the data key, and data key we have my response object, of course. Then can have my status, to be 2 or 1. Yes. Okay, beautiful. So this is done. The next thing I want to do is, of course, export this. So I go to my index.js and I'll export default as user controller. If you go back to my user.js, you see I'm exporting it as default. So I'm now renaming that default to user controller. Okay, from users, of course. Simple. ES going to be flagged this. So just for me, because I don't like things being flagged on my system, I'll just go ahead and disable this. So that's done. The next thing I would like to do is create a route for the user model and for the user controller, which I just created. So I'll go ahead into my route folder, which is here, and create a file called users. Okay, so in the file I will import Express, of course, which is our server. From Express I will import the user controller which I exported from controllers. Thank you. So set the variable as router using my Express router. Then I would destructure my user controller which I exported. So I'll get access to the create user function or create user method which I created here. Let's create user method here, right here. I get access to it. Okay, so then of course I'll set my route. We call this register. That's an appropriate name for it. Then to be a post request, then we send our value create user that will contain everything you want to post. Okay, once that is done, you can export defaults router. Good. Okay, next thing to do here will be to, of course, do this. Export default as router here. I'm just exporting this here. Okay, so the next thing I would like to do before I test the controller we just created is to go to my app.js, my server.js, and add Babel to it, because that's very, very important. Else we are going to get some errors, which will be as a result of our code being transcribed or being not understood by the browser. So in order to avoid that, we import Babel core the register. Then we import Babel profile. Thank you. So once that is done, the next thing we want to do right now is to run our migration. Yarn run db migrate. And I realized during the last lecture I was using npm. You can easily use npm and you can use yarn. whichever of the package manager you have on your laptop. But for now, I'm using Yarn. Okay, so that is done. I ran my migration and it worked. So I'll create a new terminal and start my server. Yeah. Okay, good. So let's go ahead and test our application. So if we go to this route, port 700/RESTful, that's our welcoming page. We should get welcome to the RESTful API, Express and Postgres, blah blah blah. Okay, so what we want to test now will be our controller. This is a controller here. However, before we do that, I forgot to include my router in my app.js. So quickly, use router. Then once we've done that, we create a route for that. I'll just copy this and change this to user router. Thank you. And this should be users. So it will be different from our home route. So you should have user router. Okay. Now let's go back. We are trying a post request / users. This users right here. Okay. / users / register. Okay. Now we go to the body. Go to the body and make sure we set this to xww form URL encoded. Then the username, I have some content here already. Okay, I'll just leave it. Username old man, email, let's use this crappy email here. Then password, we use this password. Okay, so moment of truth. Oh, we got this error. Cannot post to this. I wonder what could have happened. Let's go back and see. Okay, first of all, let's check our database. If the database is working. Okay, yeah, wicked. Okay. Okay, now let's try again. Oh, same thing. Okay, go back. Resful. Oh, this should be Resful API. Oh, let's try restarting. Let's try now. Okay, here we go. We have our values. We have the data which we set, if we remember. We have our status. We're returning the ID, the username, the email created at, and updated at. So our create method is working properly. Okay, now that we've done this, let's go to our database and confirm if our value is here. We refresh and voila, here we go. Here's the item here, right here. So the next thing I want to do right now is to create a controller to get one user. Then I'll create one to get all the users. I'll create the update controller if I want to update my content. Then I'll create the delete controller. So I'll go ahead to my controllers, users, then create the next controller right here. We call this get one user. We take request as usual and our response. Then we get our user and fetch it into this variable. And we get the user by using the await, of course. And we say the user, this user is referring to the model. And we use the find by pk method, where we will pass the ID of that user, because since the ID is very distinctive to each individual user, I suggest we use the ID to get our user. So pass the ID. So then afterwards, as usual, we customize our response, or we customize the data we get back into this user. It should be username, user.username, email, we created that, of course. Updated that. Exactly. Admin radar. Okay, that's the last thing I want. Then we set it into the response object. Data and the status. And the status will be 200, which is okay. Then I return the response, which I will send by sending the response object, of course. Okay, so the next one will be to the method to get all user. Takes a request, user response. Well, the way I'm going to configure this will be slightly different. I will just store everything into the data container, data variable, data object, whichever you want to call it. I'll use the await users. I'll use the find all method. Then once I find all, what I'm about to do right now is called chain binding. If I'm not mistaken, it's binding multiple methods at the same time. Instead of me getting the value, setting it to a variable, then now calling a function or a method on that variable, I'll just do everything at once. So I'll be using the map operator, which will allow me to look through each item one by one. When I say item right now, I'm referring to the user. Okay, I'll look through each user and I'll return this, which indirectly I'm configuring something like this. So I'll return the username, username, and email, user email, and is admin, user is admin. Okay, I'll do that. Okay. Once that is done, I would like to return the value by sending it again. Right now, I will be sending the data and my status to be 200. Okay, once that is done, the next one will be the update request. Which we call update user. Takes the request, the response. Then right now, I'll go ahead and structure just like before. I'll just go ahead and copy it right here because it's exactly the same thing I did earlier. So I'm destructuring and I'm getting rid of white spaces, extra white spaces. Okay, once that is done, the next thing to do will be to find the particular user which we want to update. This is the find IPK You take the request dot params dot id. Okay, now this is where the update takes place. Since our update function will return some values, let's store that value here. Update user. Okay, so that there won't be confusion, let me call this update user details. So update user because because users, which is this user rather dot update. Then we set it username to be username in case of user dot username. So I know you're confused right now by what I did here. Let me explain. Okay, what we're doing is we're setting the user column to username rather. In case user don't update this particular field, that means we will be returning the field just the way it is. The or there is in case the user updates that field, then we'll be passing this user.username, which is the new item. Do you understand what I'm saying now? Good. Same thing go for email. Email in case the value doesn't change, or name dot email. User dot email. Mind me. Okay. And once that is done, let's configure our data. Should be equals to the ID equals to update user ID. If you remember correctly, we're using this update user now because that will be the latest update. Username that will be update user dot username. Okay, let's change this to updated. Good. And there should be a comma here. Updated. Okay. And email updated user dot email. The next one will be is admin. I don't want to return all the fields, so let's just stop with is admin. Good. Okay. Once that is done, let's have a message to show that is an update. Call this message. We'll set it to update sources for. Then we can have a response object, of course. Data. And you can have the message. We have the status, which should be 200. Thank you. And we return the response by sending a response object. Good. So that's done. Last one will be, so the last method will be the delete method, which will be async as usual. Call it delete user. There is a request Resful. Okay, it's very easy to do. Okay, the first thing we do is get the user, of course. Just to await user. That's fine by pk request dot params dot id. We're getting user by id, and what else? What can I do? Then just await. I don't return any response object. Await user dot destroy. Destroy method will of course remove the user from the database. However, so can be careful. Let me see. Okay, let's do it this way. We don't need this. We just destroy by id. Okay, so request destroy. Then we set the where value, where id equals request dot params dot id. And that should be good enough. This will be users. Okay, and just return a response with a JSON with the message user removed or user deleted. Done. So those are all our objects, our controllers. So I'll go ahead into my routes and I'll import them. I'll destructure them here. First one is get one user, get all user, update user detail, then delete user. We set our router because I'll create a route for each controller. The first one will be get user, will just be get request, get one user. Okay, router. Next one will be get all users. Will be all users. That will be the name of the route. To be get request, of course. The next one will be router. Take the ID, of course. This will be a patch. Update user details. The last one will be router. Of course, it takes the ID too. It should be delete user. So there we go. Those are all our controllers on all our routes. So let's go ahead and start our server. Good. If we go back, okay, we create a new user, call him nice dev with an email, nice email like this, right at gmail.com. We submit, then we get this. This is our response object, the new user we just created with the email. So let's copy this ID because I want to show you how the get one user controller works. So that is done. Okay, let's get all user now. Select get request, then say all users. Is it all user or all users? Okay, so all users. And we send. My apologies. I realized the problem of the mistake we made was because we didn't arrange this very well, apparently. So the get all user should come before the get user, get one user or get a single user by ID. Because if that does not, if we don't do it that way, once we try getting all our user, the ID parameter there will be set to get all users. So we have problem getting all our user. So I would suggest you rearrange this route here. The get all users should be first, then the get user by ID should be next. Thank you. So if we want to get a single user, if you remember, we copied the ID of the user, and if we have to paste that ID here and send, get that user. Alright, so then the next one will be to update our user. It should be by going to the body, patch, into the body, and so we update the username of the user to night. We send. So updated. You see the message we set in our controller to update successful. So next test will be to delete. Okay, let's see if we can delete this user. Select delete. Okay, it's telling us users.destroy is not a function. Let's go to code and check what's going on. My bad, I think I misspelled destroy. And we send. So user deleted, and if we try to get all user, I should only get one back. So there we go. All our CRUD operation is working well. Thank you for your time. Thank you for sticking with me. And in the next lecture, I'll be teaching you how to authenticate your user and validate your user, and as well as to undo errors properly, because I realize we're not handling any error for now. So in the next class, I'll show you how to do that. Thank you and have a wonderful day.